something as large as a football stadium. You know, when you build a home, you think when you get a punch list for your house and you have so many items, we had 800 items on the punch list. And we're down to 60, so that is very, very good. It will be ready. We're headed in the right direction with that. We've been spending a lot of time, and in particular Darren Spees has, on the video board. Originally, when we were going to be an FCS program, we were going to have a message board, just not a video board, but a scoreboard. Now, midway through the construction project, we decided we were going to go FBS as quickly as possible and got the invitation to join Conference USA. So we had to change that little scoreboard to a video message board, and the decision has been made now. We've spent a lot of time on that. It'll be a Panasonic board, and it'll actually be 1,200 square feet of video available on that board. Big change from where we were. Big change. The spring game is April 20th at 1 o'clock p.m. All the other games throughout the season will be at noon, but that one will be at 1 o'clock. Most of you are season ticket holders or FSL holders, so you've already got your order in for season tickets, and that's being done right now. And soon, FSL holders will be selecting their seats and where they will be on a permanent basis. And then on August 31st, we take on Campbell University right here, and I think everybody's very excited about that. Now, I know tonight is all about football, but our basketball team is 17-5, and we're hoping this group of signees that we have tonight in football are going to help this football team have the same level of success that we're having in basketball right now. So without further ado, Coach, I think this group's anxious to hear from you and about the signees.
Thank you, Miss Judy. And it's almost baseball season, and we know how that's going to go. That's going to go real well. So high expectations over there. I see those guys working out all the time, so I know they're getting ready. Thanks for coming out. We're really excited. We kind of take a deep breath and, get this one in the bag. It's been a long year, and it's a long process, a lot of work, and it takes a lot of work by a lot of people. But I get the question all the time, does it finally feel normal? And it does. Once the calendar turned to 2013, it really feels normal. Everything is, from a coaching standpoint, we know where we're going, got our off season. Coach Durney's got the guys in the weight room. Everything on the calendar is normal for us again. It's been 2 years of not being normal, and now it is. And really on signing day, we knew it was back to normal. Our first signing day last year, Ms. Kim Whitestone, I think she's here somewhere, she had this, elaborate spread for us at breakfast, as our first signing day and all. And so I brought up to her husband, Tom, about this year on signing day. I said, where does she want us to, lay out the buffet and everything? And, of course, I got the message back that we were on our own for breakfast this year, so everything's back to normal. We did go out to Bojangles. Bojangles was great, so we enjoyed that. The other thing that happened on signing day that probably really brought it all to reality for me was, I got up early yesterday and got in the office about 6 o'clock, and everything was good. We're waiting on the faxes to come in. They can start coming at 7. And so we're all just kind of hanging out and waiting around. And I get a text from my wife, Ange. Ange is here. And I get a text from Ange at 7:14 asking if I took the trash out. Everything's back to normal. I got the trash out. Trash is Wednesday, so forget signing day. Did you get the trash out? So we got that out. Everything's in good shape. The other thing that we get a lot of is the difference between last year and this year. And there are a lot of differences. Last year's class, we asked to take a leap of faith. They didn't know many things. They didn't know who their strength coach was going to be. They didn't know what conference we were going to be in. The facility was a picture. We just used pictures to recruit that class. And we just asked them to trust us. We had to use the baseball players to host the guys, when they came in on a visit. So this year was a lot different. The guys could sit in my office. They could come watch us practice in the fall. They'd come out to a scrimmage. Our guys were fully staffed. We had trainers, strength coaches. And so it really took a normal turn from that standpoint with this class. And really the biggest change in this class was we had all that, and then we had a conference. We're going into Conference USA, so everybody knows where we're going and knows where, what the future looks like, and that was huge for us. That opened some doors that probably wouldn't have been open, and we had to take advantage of that. And in this class, we competed against some good programs, and I think we did well, and just really excited about those guys that are coming in. It takes a lot of people. The greatest thing about football is it's just the ultimate team sport. I say that a lot, and it's so true. I used to sit in that linebacker room, and you're so dependent on the O-line coach doing his job, and he's dependent on you and you doing your job, and your linebackers doing their job, and everybody fitting together. And it's no different in recruiting. And I can't be more proud of our staff. This group of guys they're really relational people, and they go out and they get involved with people's lives, and they really do a great job. I mean, they enjoy recruiting. They go out and they understand, what it takes. But it takes so many people to recruit a guy. It's never about one person in our game, and it's not in recruiting. It takes everybody. And I do want to thank some people before we really get started tonight. I need to introduce. Last year we only had 6 or 7 people on our staff. We're going to introduce the new people. You're going to hear from the coaches, and they can introduce any family members that are with them. But Dustin Stover's over here. He's our equipment manager. Equipment room's critical in recruiting. The kids want to know what the gear is. I mean, we get that question every home. Let me see the gear, Coach. What are we going to wear? Chris Thomason, his wife Jen are here. He's our assistant AD for football. I don't know where Chris is. But critical role in everything we do over at the football office, and has done an unbelievable job for us. Trev's here, Trevor Lambert, our director of football operations, and we all know how valuable he is and what he does. Mel is with him, Mel Berry, his girlfriend. I let her off the hook last year, but I told her I couldn't let her off the hook this year, so I'm going to be easy on you, Mel. I love you. Matt Woodleaf's here. Matt's single. He's still trying to find a date. He's in our video office. Coach Grove, Ben Grove's here with Nicole, his wife Nicole. He's in our video office. Satchel Stump is here, does all the video we've got, and Miss Laura, his fiance. John Russell is one of our defensive coaches. He's here. Donnie Smith in our weight room. Donnie's assistant strength coach, along with Scott Braswell. Judy, he was probably our last hire, so we got Scott hired, so we're finished. A.J. Luke Janzik is here, our trainer, with Miss Shelley, his fiance. Justin's down there, Justin Wilson. He's one of our trainers, and then Adam is with them as well. Adam Jordan's one of our trainers. So our staff has grown, but it takes all these people to really work a class, and people get involved with this recruiting process. I mentioned our strength staff, our equipment staff, our administration. Judy met with all our recruits when they come in. She gets to speak to them, and it's really we want that. We want them to see who's running the show here and see the plan, because we sell that hard to our guys. There's a plan in place here. There has been for a long time, and it was critical in my decision to come here, and it's critical in their decision for them to see that we have a plan and that the plan's getting executed. So Judy has been critical in recruiting these guys. Scott Bird's here from compliance. He runs the FBI office over here. He's great. He puts up with me. I know I'm a pain for him. He puts up with me and does an unbelievable job, Scott. We appreciate you. Darren's here. Darren Speece is here as well. Darren's really gets tired of me. We used to have an office together, and now he never comes to see me anymore. He won't come get M&Ms. But we had professors on campus. We had a lot of people. We have kids meet with professors. We had Vidal Dickerson came spoke with our recruits. I mean, we just have a lot of people to thank, and they had an integral part in this class, and we just really appreciate everybody being a part of it and having a little piece of it. So. This class really started last fall for us with some old guys and transfers. We said that was our priority in this class. We had to split it out with some high school kids and some old guys. Riley Skinner's here, Hunter Haynes, Riley Haynes. They don't have any eligibility left, or we'd have brought them out. But guys that we did get some transfers in the fall, and that class started in August. Guys like Daniel Blitch in our O-line came to us from Wake. Danny Book's a transfer from Albany. Hickory Ridge out here that's come in. He's actually starting for us at tackle. Micah Bryan, one of the best pickups we made. Coach Hibbs let him come play football with us, and really the guy's just been unbelievable. He's starting for us at inside linebacker right now. So, and he'll be a junior in the fall. So we're looking for age any way we could get it, and if it meant taking a baseball player, then so be it. I appreciate you, Coach. I really do. Des Cooper came to us from Wake Forest. He's playing safety for us. And then Duke Mosby came from Wake Forest. So this class really started, that was kind of the start of it early back in August, and we knew we had to go through that process. And then there'll be some old guys that you'll see tonight mixed in with the class of high school guys. And with that said, we'll go ahead and get started with the video. AJ, we're good? We'll go ahead and get started with the video, and Coach Tall will be up first, our defensive coordinator, defensive line coach. You've had a chance to see him for the last couple years and be around him, and just has done an unbelievable job so far. And so Coach Tall will come up and talk about a few guys.
Now, I know you're going to probably want to keep your eyes on the video more than anything, but I'm going to talk as the video goes on. We're doing a little bit different this year, and we won't always talk about just our positions, but kind of guys either that we were involved with recruiting or just had some part of dealing with them. So I'm going to hit a couple of defensive guys. I think when they gave us recruiting areas, I'm used to, even though I've been here a few years now, I'm kind of used to recruiting more cities. So, they gave me some different areas, and I think I see more trees than I see people. But thank God for GPS, and I've been able to find the places I need to get to. And the first place, young man, I'm going to talk about is from Bamberg, South Carolina. I went down there to watch him play, watch his video, sit down with kind of the old-fashioned way. Didn't really know a whole lot about him. Went and watched video, sat and talked with the coaches. Was so impressed with him that I went to another school and said, well, I'm coming back what time's practice so I could come watch him. And then when I sat and watched practice, then I knew I was sold. I knew I was real anxious. I'm 53 years old, and I still get real excited to want to come back and talk to young guys. I said, most of the guys that sit in my defensive room that I meet with, I've been coaching more years than they've been alive. So, but I was excited to get back to them and talk to them about Nick and go over and kind of show him what I thought he could do for us. He's a very versatile player for the coaching staff. They played him absolutely all over the place. He's about 5'10", 185 pounds, had numerous offers prior to us, having an opportunity to offer to him. And so you can see he's going to play corner, he's going to play safety, he's going to play linebacker. They wanted to put him any position they felt that he could make an impact on. So they, and he has the football intelligence where they felt that they could do that. And a lot of times those secondary guys really have a hard time the closer you put them to the ball because, they don't have that running start. As you can see from the video, he has no problem being up close and making a factor and chasing people. He had, as you can read through his sheet, you'll see he's got numerous awards that he's won, but I think that he topped it off his senior year when he ended up getting named to the North-South All-Star game, which is obviously a very prestigious award down in South Carolina. They have both the North-South game and the Shrine game. So right now we're excited about having an opportunity to put him in the secondary and the back end where he's going to work with Coach Adams at the safety position. And one of the things I think that really solidified the deal with him was that relationship with Coach Adams. I know Coach Lambert talks about that all the time, but I said, Nick, if you look at his bio and you hear about his background, he had a lot of opportunities to look at a lot of different places. And we were competitive against some bigger schools, and it was the relationship I think he developed when he came on as unofficial in the summer that he started with Coach Adams that he felt like that was a guy he would be excited to play for. So that's our first guy that I want to talk about was Nick Holman. The second guy I'm going to talk about is a guy, George Starnes. He's a kind of a multi-sport athlete. Really great baseball player, but you understand he's a football player only in college. But he said he won one state championship and they expect to win another one. But when you watch, Jordan play, you're going to see we can play him again at a numerous positions. He plays the inside linebacker, the outside linebacker. I think I'll have to put Coach Sykes and Coach Dayton in a room and let them arm wrestle to see who actually gets him. But okay, I know where I'm putting him. No, we're going to start him out right now on the outside. But if you watch him play, he always finishes in a dominant position. When he hits people, he knows how to use his pads and his strength. He's a very physical, tough young man, and he's athletic enough. And again, there's some clips that you can see where he can run, but he could play on either side of the ball. Again, I was hesitant to show Coach Mullen his highlight tape. I did want to make sure he saw him eventually, but I waited until after I knew we could get him on defense first, because he can play he could play the H-back. Obviously more of a tight end in high school, but he's an exciting football player. Again, he was elected to play in the Shrine Bowl game. Again, another guy that had early BCS offers, and then when I went to the school originally, he was kind of one of those guys that was kind of, gave him, I got his name, but they really, well, you're probably not going to have a shot at him. So that was obviously the guy I wanted. And that was the guy we were going to stay after as hard as we possibly could, and it worked out perfect because I knew he wanted to stay close to home. And so, again, I think he's a special player. He reminds me a lot of a young man I recruited at another school that really is having a great college career. And I talked to him about that the whole time through the recruiting process. But the third guy I'm going to get to talk about, and obviously because of my position coaching the defensive line, I get even more excited about it. I mean, I love coaching all the guys on defense and love being the coordinator, but I lick my chops when I actually get a chance to talk about a defensive lineman. And this young man, it says 6'7" on there, but he really is 6'8". I mean, he's taller than normally. Normally when guys give you a height, they're kind of exaggerating. You think he's 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", and when he gets in a stance, you'll never believe he's really that tall. But he plays with unbelievable leverage. He gets in a great stance and really can be explosive. When you watch his power line, I mean, he only takes a step and he's already at the quarterback. So, I think once he gets an opportunity to get with Coach Durning, the sky's clearly the limit for this young man. And again, if you kind of talk about his story, Coach Ratliff had a chance to identify him early, but it was more than just him identifying his ability. It was the relationship that he established with that family that was the critical factor in us, getting this, Jamar to sign with us. Because of Jamar, obviously, because of the size and because of the senior year he had BCS teams coming after him, but because of their commitment and the relationship that Coach Ratliff handled, the mom basically took away his phone, and so the other recruiters couldn't call him. And so we took him, and literally she did. I can't even get a hold of him sometimes. You can only call the mom to catch him. But it's because of, of what they wanted to do, and they knew this was the right fit for him and the right place for him. But it was the relationship, that you keep talking, we keep talking about and harping on that makes a difference. Again, he's a multi-sport athlete, obviously on the basketball team. He played in the Shrine Bowl All-Star game, and right after the Shrine Bowl, he came right back. And that Wednesday, he thought he was just going to go watch the game and ended up starting in the first basketball game. So he's kept it going pretty active. And, again, we're real excited about having him here. Okay. And at the next – oh, you're going to do it, okay.
Thanks, Coach. Coach sent me down there to see Jamar, man. It was you walk around the school, he had to duck through every door we went through, and then I'm doing this the whole time. That's how I'm having to talk to him. I thought I was recruiting a basketball player. Next, our offensive coordinator, quarterback coach Jeff Mullen. Most of you had a chance. He's been here since day one. He's going to come up and talk about 3 or 4 guys. So, Coach Mullen.
Just jump right in. You can roll that tape there for me, Satch. There we go. First thing we need to do is pronounce this young man's name. It's actually Jacquin, Jachin. A lot of people call him Jock for short, but Jacquin is actually a biblical name. I didn't realize that. It must be Old Testament. Haven't seen that one around, but it apparently his mom tells me means whom God strengthens. And when you watch this young man play, especially as the game moves on, it definitely fits him. This is a power back. Jock is going to play the H-back position for us. He has the skill set of a tailback, the vision, the body lean, the footwork, and certainly the downfield speed, but he's a thumper. There's no question he's going to be able to get that hard yard. Certainly be able to block people when we ask him to do that as well. We identified this kid fairly early in the process with tape, but it was at a Duke camp where we saw him running routes and catching the ball with his hands, and that really kind of solidified for us, the skill set necessary for him to come in and play for us. This kid was a blast to recruit. I'm telling you, this is a wonderful human being. Comes from a great family. His mom, Samantha, is a Charlotte grad. So she was really excited to get her child back to where she went to school. And he's a winner. He played for a high school football team that won 40 games in his 3 years. He was 40-3 in his 3 years as a varsity starter. And this year they went 15-0 and won a state title. And it's always nice to get a North Carolina kid on your football team. So real happy to have Jock. Number 2, Mikkel Hunter. Tell you what a great recruiter I am. Was about a month into it, the kid goes, Coach, my name's not Michael, it's Mikkel. I said, my bad. I now just call him Kel, and Kel's fast. Kel can run. He comes to us after a 3-year career at the Air Force Academy. Clearly with our ties back to Jim Grobe and his ties with the Air Force Academy, we were able to work a situation with some of the coaches out there that allowed us to get in on this guy, and we are so excited to have this guy. I mean, he's an academy kid, and before his military commitment, you know how that stuff works. We were able to get him, with a good standing transfer. So real excited about that. The thing I like most about Kel is that we've got a really good group of young, talented wide receivers that we signed last year. And this is a kid who really pays attention to detail, as you could imagine with 3 years of service. I mean, this guy's high and tight, and shoes are tied, and marches, down the straight path. So the thing I like a lot about Mikkel, other than the fact that he can really run, is going to make plays for us very early. He's going to be able to lead those young people on how to do things right in the off season, how to do things right in the weight room, how to do things right in individual drills, how to do things right, quite frankly, when we're not allowed to be with them. Scott Bird and his crew only tell us we can only spend a few hours a week with them, so we got to make sure we're not taking all their time, and a guy like Mikkel can certainly help our football team. He's a kid from Conyers, Georgia, right down the road, just southeast of Atlanta, so excited to get a semi-local kid there as well. The last young man I'm going to talk about is Trent Bostick, another North Carolina kid. This is actually out of Coach Tall's area. Bruce Tall first identified this guy and gave us junior tape. They went through a quarterback change as a junior, so he didn't have a lot of good videotape of him catching the football. We were able to see him at another camp this summer as well when we were working the summer camps, and he ran real fast at the camp. So we were okay. And the best part about it, I can't remember, I think it was Joe T or somebody brought him to campus when we were still over in this building, when he was in the summertime of his junior year. And he came up in the office, and boy, when you shake his hand, now he's got a coal miner's handshake now. This is a grown man right here playing wide receiver. And it's perfect for what we're looking for in an outside receiver. That guy needs to be a bigger guy, more physical guy, and certainly a guy that can go up and grab it in the crowd and put his hands on you. And Trent's the perfect kid for that. Quiet, tough, team, selfless. I mean, this is the kind of guy you want out there, and he's a playmaker. He's a kid that gives us much needed depth in that outside receiver position. He's from Rockingham, North Carolina, right down the road. Again, comes from a program that won 11 games this year. And a lot of times, I know some of you guys watch that local Friday night football deal on TV. This team was ranked number 1 in the state for the majority of the fall. And a lot of it had to do with Trent and certainly the rest of that football team. So real excited to have Trent, and certainly real excited to have all those players. Really appreciate you guys coming out. Thank you.
Coach Mullen, we're going to run as many reverses as Air Force? Holy smokes. Don't schedule a game with them, Chris. Next guy, we got our recruiting coordinator, really has done a good job leading us in the recruiting side of it, and was with us last year at this time, came in January. Will coach our offensive line, Coach Phil Ratliff.
Wow, are we excited about these next 3 young men? Khalif Phillips, local talent from A.L. Brown. You want to talk about a joint effort? The great thing about our staff, it's very unselfish. We really involve our position players, the coach that's responsible for the area, the coordinators, and we all did a good joint effort on recruiting this young man. But as you can see, he only scored 30 touchdowns this year. and that's in 10 games. Very fast, made the Shrine Bowl. He's not only a really good player, but he's a really good young man. He does a lot of volunteering in the community, in elementary schools, and the middle schools, and he's was part of the Big 22, and he has some big-time breakaway speed. And we beat, had to say it, East Carolina, amongst others, to get this young man. You know, he had 1,700 some yards, but he also had almost 400 yards and 5 touchdowns receiving. So he's very versatile. C.J. Crawford's a young man that was able to coach for 3 years at Marshall, and was able to, actually was a part of recruiting him. And he's I'll tell you something about him. When we came in, we got his release, I told my family, and, you know, Haley and Dylan and my wife, Dylan's got a game tonight, so they're not able to be here, but I said, CJ's thinking about coming here. And they were ecstatic because he'd spent a lot of time at my home with our family, and that says enough about CJ. But he's an explosive player. He's he's every bit of a 4.5 40 legit, and he can run. He brings a lot of versatility to our offense, and able to use him a lot of different ways, and excited to have him. He was, in 2011, he was the leading receiver in the St. Pete Bowl, and he also caught the game-winning touchdown versus Louisville. They went on to win the Big East that year. But he did graduate from Marshall, and he's going to play his last year with us. Eugene German was interesting, a previous institution I was at. We familiar with him, been an in-state player in the state of West Virginia. We were able to beat Marshall, Ohio University, Cincinnati on this young man. Kind of complement to what we have here with our facilities, the campus, the academic opportunities. He came down and visited us this summer and fell in love with it and committed, and comes from a great family and two-time back-to-back state champions. And he actually a very good defensive player as well. He had 15 tackles in the state championship game. He was the Hunt Award winner as the offensive lineman of the year. So he brings a lot of versatility to our offensive line as well, being able to pull and move and being athletic. But he's an honor roll student, and just, you know, all around. His family, actually his dad's from Florence, South Carolina, and his mom's a retired military. So fine young man. We appreciate y'all coming out, and go Niners.
Thank you, Coach Ratliff. What he didn't tell you, my father-in-law is here, Coach Townsend. He coaches at a high school up in West Virginia, and they actually played Eugene's team. And Eugene was actually down here the week before they played GW High School, and I had asked Eugene, please go easy on my father-in-law. Well, they beat him, what was it, Mo? I think they scored 60 on y'all. And but they had a really, really good team. Eugene's a dynamite player, and we actually, you know, Coach Townsend got to see him live, and so, you know, he's just a fine young man. We're excited about that guy coming. The next guy coming was here with us last year as well. Coach Sykes, Napoleon Sykes, will coach our outside linebackers, and he's going to come speak to us about 3 guys.
A little bit shorter than everybody else. All right, the first guy is Tevin Lachey. He's a local guy, Mallard Creek guy. I actually had a chance to coach his brother a couple years back in 2007. So I've known Tevin for you know, I've been able to watch him grow over the past couple of years. He's a really good offensive lineman. You know, he's you know, probably about 6'3", 6'4". He'll be an interior guy for us, play a little bit of guard, a little bit of center. But he's a really athletic kid. And he's a very nasty kid on the offensive line, which you're looking for, exactly what you're looking for, Coach Ratliff is looking for on the interior of our line. And he's a great pickup. You know, he's a little bit like Will Thomas was last year, where he was extremely excited about being on this first team that plays here at Charlotte and being a Charlotte guy. So it's you know, he's a great addition, especially a local kid for us. James Williams, he's from South Central LA. He's a kid that I really enjoyed recruiting. He played at Golden West. He'll come in and play corner for us. He's a bigger corner, exactly what you're looking for as a shutdown corner. James is probably about 5'11", 6 foot. He's got great feet, great speed. You know, he was a guy that we got in on early, and I had a chance to build a really good relationship with him. He's been through a lot in his life, but he's one of those kids that is very focused on what he wants to do with his life. You know, getting a good education, playing at a program. And the thing that he was most, that sold him about this place was just being a part of history. When he gets on campus, and if you have a chance to meet him, he'll say it. The biggest thing and the reason why he came is, you know, just being a part of the first class, being a part of history. And that was so important to this guy. I mean, he's awesome. He sent me a message the other day and was asking me, my wife's pregnant. He was asking me when the baby shower was so he could send a gift. I mean, the kid's awesome. Lastly is Nolan Corbinay, another local guy, Vance. You could throw a rock to his school. You could actually throw a rock to his house. He lives right off the parking lot, over right over by the baseball stadium. But you know, Nolan's the guy I actually knew about a couple years back when I was at Navy, and then Coach Adams saw him at camp this summer, so we identified him very early in the process, and Coach Adams felt really strongly about this kid that was one of the, he thought he was one of the best corners in the state. And this guy is Nolan's not going to say a lot until you get on the field. And he'll speak to you on the field and tell you how good he is, and he'll go and prove it as well. So he's, along with Tevin, another local guy that, is really going to bolster that local feel for us, trying to create the state of Charlotte and the recruiting that we're doing. And Nolan's going to be great for us on defense. He's going to be able to play some corner. He played some slot in offense. If you tell slot to him, that's a dirty word to that kid. He is a defensive guy, a defensive-minded guy. A smaller guy, about 5'10", but he plays like he's 6'2". He's a very physical kid. And that's about it. Coach, next time.
Coach Sykes gets the award for the closest guys. When they come in on their official visit, we give them a check for mileage. So they get some cash, because they drove, pay for the gas, and it was a real tough contest between Tevin and Nolan. Nolan's was $2 and Tevin's was $3, so they couldn't even buy a gallon of gas. But they literally, I think Nolan lives on campus maybe. I mean, it's crazy. The next guy will come up, Coach Adams was with us last year. Coaches our secondary, and is going to talk to us about 3 different guys.
Thank you, Coach. How about those Niners? How about them? I'll tell you what, after being here for going on 2 years, the excitement hadn't faded. It's like the first day arriving on campus all over again. So we're pretty fired up. The first guy I have to talk about is Wolfgang Zackrell. He's a big old kid out of Raleigh, Broughton High School. He's 6'5", 250. I lovingly call him the Big Show. And the first time I met him, I thought he was an extra from like a WWE, WWF wrestling contest or something. But he's a great kid. He's the type of young man that you will want your daughter to go to prom with. You know what I mean? He's got a heart of pure gold. But as you can see from his film, he's got a little bulldog in him too now. He'll get after him. When you close your eyes and you try to imagine what a Division I offensive lineman looks like, Wolfgang would be it. He'd be what you'd picture. So he's an awesome young man, like I said. He's a total package. He's big, he's athletic, he's mean, and I think he'll fit right into what Coach Ratliff wants to do on offense. as you can see, play a little defensive line as well, but Coach Ratliff is sold on keeping him at tackle. The next young man is Devin Pearson. He's right down the road at South Point High School in Rock Hill. 5'11", 185 pounds. Very similar to a guy we recruited last year, Tank Norman. He's a young man that played a lot of quarterback for South Point. And I like that. That tells you a few things. It tells you, one, that he's got a unique understanding for the game. He can understand the game from both perspectives, offensively and defensively, and I like that. The other thing that tells you is that he'll be able to diagnose plays really fast. You know, he'll have vision, a little intensity. He'll get after you. He's a team leader, natural-born leader. Aside from the fact that they've won a ton of ball games at his high school, this kid's a stone-cold baller. He's got ice in his veins. He can be my blanket coverage corner. He can be the shutdown guy. And as you'll see with the last clip on his tape, he'll also be the guy that can hold up in run force. He can set the edge. Hopefully we get to it. But he was a joy to get to know in the recruiting process, just like many of our young men. He doesn't say much, but he definitely talks with his pads, and you can see the passion in his eyes when you do it in-home or get him on campus. He's excited about coming. Was that it? Nice. Love it. Gives me chills. The last guy is Nick Carroll. He's a defensive end from Cardinal Gibbons High School in Raleigh. He's 6'5", 250. Now, when I say 6'5" for these guys, I mean, that's not being generous. I mean, these guys are 6'5". He's a defensive end. As you can see, Nick is very explosive and strong. He has tremendous length and size, which makes, as you can see, a matchup problem. He's a matchup problem for the offense. He has a high motor, and he has the ability to eat up 2 or 3 gaps every snap on defense. His upside is through the roof. He's a young man that when you talk to him about coming to Charlotte and being part of the first and just playing, he's like, Coach, I'll play wherever you want. Defensive line, offensive line, DB, you line me up, you tell me where to go. So we're definitely excited about getting him on board, and can't wait to see what he does. Goes on for days. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, James. Nick was an interesting one. We didn't offer Nick till late in the process, and James did an unbelievable job just staying with him and recruiting him the whole year and just really developing that relationship. And then he sent me by the school, and the guys give me a hard time about going to the school because, when I came out of there, I was like, we need to offer this guy. We need to find room for him. He was committed to Old Dominion. But the best thing about Nick was, and this is so important in this process, is he really, really, really wants to be at Charlotte. And it was obvious when you sit down and met with him, and, Coach Tall loved him on film, and just the kind of guy he is. That's really important to me, that the guys, we don't want guys looking back. We want guys that want to be here, and Nick really wants to be here, and I'm glad that one worked out for us. Joe Tereshinski's going to come up next, coaches our wide receivers, talk to us about a couple of guys. We're excited about Joe. He's coaching our wideouts. Was here last year in January, so come on up, Joe.
Glad to be back. My wife, Jill, and my daughter, Molly, were here, but Molly's practicing her third down voice for next year, Coach Tall, so they had to hit the road for a second. The first guy I want to talk about is Caleb Clayton-Molby. He comes from Georgia Military College. He's about 6'1", 225. He's going to play inside linebacker for us. For GMC, he was our second leading tackler. He had 58 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, an interception. He's just an incredibly hard worker. He likes to stick his nose where the ball is going to be, and he's been going up against some great talent at GMC, guys that are going to a lot of different schools, SEC, ACC caliber schools. Like I said, he's an incredibly hard worker, and he's got a passion for football. He started off in Kansas, moved to Panama City, found his way at Georgia Military College a little bit later. He's had great support from his family, really just allowing him to chase his dream. And he comes to us as an older guy, which has been very important for us, and showing our guys how to work out, how to carry yourself, and how to care about something that means so much to everybody in our locker room. When he first got here, it really showed, because you get your gear. You come in, you get your shoes, you get your Charlotte T-shirts, and he's like, it's wintertime, and I still haven't gotten my sweats. So I'm going to go see Dustin real quick and ask Dustin, where are my sweats? So Dustin's sitting back there, and Dustin goes, well, I haven't received all the sweats back from last year, and I'm not going to give any out until they're returned. And so Caleb looks at him and goes, well, you just tell me who I need to go see, and they'll make sure they get back the next day. But with that, I mean, that's a guy that provides leader in our, leadership role and value in our locker room for this group. That's really working hard. The next guy is Devon Johnson. Devon is 6'3", 270. He's a defensive end, again from Georgia Military College and by way of Aiken, South Carolina. Coach Brian Hill is his position coach and says he's a dependable and a guy that comes to work every single day. Family and community means so much to Devon. He's always, since he stepped foot here on campus, wanted to be part of Charlotte. And it was important for him to reach out to everyone that's touched his life and make sure they were involved in his decision, not because he felt like he wasn't making the right decision, but because they meant so much to him. One thing you can see by watching this film is Devon's very athletic. He's a big guy, too. He's got big arms, big chest, big quads, but he's got really small ankles. And while recruiting him and sitting down with his mom and watching him go through pass rush at practice, this is a very athletic kid and a big guy, like I said. And I just had to ask him, I said, where do you get all your athleticism from? And his mom piped up real quick and said, well, Coach, he came out as a receiver in high school. He was committed to Georgia Tech. So you're going to see a guy next year that's coming off the ball. He's very sudden, and he's going to do a great number getting in that backfield very quickly and very athletically. Here you go, Coach.
Took my sheet, Joe. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Joe. Next, we got Coach Dayton, Drew Dayton. Some of you may have not, got to meet Coach Dayton yet. Comes to us from Duke, played for us at Wake Forest. Is going to coach our inside linebackers. So he's going to come up and speak about a couple of guys right now. Coach Dayton.
Thanks, Coach. Before I get started and show you the two young men I'm responsible for tonight, I'd like for you guys to give a hand to our wives and kids over here. My crew's back home. It's past 7:30, so I've got my wife Laura, who I'd like to thank, and my two kids Wyatt and Nola. Wyatt was really mad he had to miss this because he loves football players, football helmets. He's 3 years old and thinks he should be suiting up, every Saturday. So he was mad that he had to miss this event. But the first young man I'm going to get to talk about tonight is Dustin Krauser. This game profession is all about relationships, and luckily the real head coach, Miss Angie Lambert, and her father have a relationship. He coached Dustin in high school. I can read off stats, and this young man was two-time runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year in West Virginia at linebacker. He also plays fullback for his team. But this young man's character speaks to me louder than any stat he put up. I was very fortunate to get to recruit this young man more towards the end of the recruiting process because he's going to be in my room. Coach Ratliff called me the last week we got to go out recruiting and said, you want to drive up and see Dustin? I said, yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't check the weather before I had to go up there and see him. It was last week when we got all the rain. I had to drive through a white-out snowstorm to get to this young man's high school, but it was well worth it. He is twice the person he is as a player, and in my room that means a lot. So we're very fortunate to have Dustin on the team next year. The second player I get to talk about is Blake Brewer. Nobody asks about your kicker and punter in their signee class until it's 21-20, 3 seconds left on the clock in the fourth quarter, and he got to trot out there and win the game for you. And then they're like, who's our kicker and punter? Is he good? Can he make it? But having, being very fortunate to get to help recruit Blake, very talented, very talented. He's also, his mother played basketball here, so he's a local product. I'll tell you how important he is. I drove up to see him also the last week and had to battle 85 traffic at Mallard Creek, and you know how hard that is. So I made a point to battle that traffic and get to his school, the Cannon School, to recruit Blake. But he is very talented, what you want in a specialist. And the biggest thing about him is that he played other positions in high school, which in my experience, coaching specialists at Duke and having lost, more than a few games to Coach Lambert at Wake by a field goal or less, it's very important to have a guy that can go out there and has a football frame of mind. He's not just a kicker, punter. He's a football player. So having Blake on this team is going to help us significantly in the future. But I really appreciate all of you, the faces that I've met before and the new ones in the crowd. Looking forward to get to know you guys over the next few years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach Dayton. I do have to say about Dustin Krauser, the staff kind of looked at me funny, but Coach Townsend, my father-in-law, he doesn't call me often on players, but when he does, it's really, the guy usually can play. He called me about another guy that we took at the University of Georgia. He came down from West Virginia and played for Coach and started for us as a true freshman at the University of Georgia. And I told the staff, I was like, look, we're going to take this guy. Coach called. Coach has got, he's vested in our program. He does not want to see his daughter move, so he's not going to send us any bad players. So we appreciate Coach Townsend helping us out in the recruiting process. Next guy coming up is Coach Gary, Damian Gary. Just joined us in July, came to us from Mars Hill College. I was going to coach our running backs and had a chance to be around Damian as a player at the University of Georgia, and just really fortunate that he's on our staff. Coach Gary.
First, I want to thank all you guys for coming out and celebrating this day with us. I do want to introduce my wife, Chanel Gary. She is sitting over to my right. Just want to introduce her. Thank you. The first guy I'm going to talk about is Marte Maddox. I've had the pleasure of knowing Marte since he was in 3rd grade, so I've watched him actually grow up. I coached him in high school as well. Marte is a very dynamic athlete, as you'll see from the film. Originally, he signed a letter of intent and attended South Carolina University. He then transferred to East Mississippi Community College, where he is finishing up this semester. While at East Mississippi, he is currently playing wide receiver, and he's had 43 catches for 583 yards and 6 touchdowns. Again, as you can see, he's a very special athlete that once we got his letter of intent come through the fax machine, the real recruiting started. We're trying to see which side of the ball we can win him over to. So I'm voting for offense. So hopefully Coach Hall and Coach Adams won't crucify me once I get back to the table. But in addition to that, hopefully he can be our first Champ Bailey package. We'll have a little package from him on both sides of the ball. He is a very extremely exciting athlete, and can't wait to get him on campus and see what he can do for us. The next young man I got to know during the recruiting process, Chris Duffy, which is a local guy, has a great family, very pleasurable guy to be around. Again, he's another explosive athlete that we look forward to putting the ball in his hands and making stuff happen for us. Chris, also during his senior year, finished with 1,452 yards and 20 touchdowns. So that's a pretty good stat and a pretty amazing feat on his part. Defensively, Chris played defensive back, and he was also named All-State as a defensive back. He also was named All Southern Carolina Conference Offensive Player of the Year. He was voted Union County Weekly Offensive MVP. He also was All Union County Football.com Player of the Year. So he's a guy that's well-rounded and received a lot of accolades. Again, very explosive, guy that we are looking very forward to putting the ball in his hands and making plays for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach Gary. You know, Marte was one of those guys we really worried about yesterday. You know, you're not sure that they're all going to come in, and so any surprises yesterday wouldn't have been good for us because we had everybody that we felt like was in, and a relationship that Coach had with Marte. It's funny how things come back around, but I'll never forget sitting down at Clark Central, 3 years ago, and I was at Wake Forest and watching him play, and we offered him at Wake as a quarterback. I mean, the guy's a special athlete, and we do need to make sure we fit him in the right spot and put him in the right position. And he in fact may be that guy that, one thing I picked up from Coach Donnan that I've always carried with me is he wasn't afraid to play a guy on both sides. If you've got a guy that can really impact the game, and we used Troy Brown in that format at Marshall University, and Troy was a wideout, and we ended up playing him on defense on third down. And so we do need to utilize him and use him, but Coach Gary did a nice job with him. Last guy is going to come up and visit with you tonight's Johnson Richardson. Coach Richardson comes to us. He was most recently at Wingate, played at Wofford, and is really doing a good job for us, and we really appreciate Johnson being on our staff.
Thank you, Coach. I just want to start my piece by saying what a privilege it is for me to be able to come up here and speak to everyone tonight. I feel so fortunate and blessed to be a part of this football program and a part of this university, and I can't begin to express the amount of fun I've had working with this coaching staff, with these players, and with everyone here. With that being said, I'm going to introduce the last player in the class of 2013, but certainly not the least, Justin Bridges-Thompson. Okay, Justin's a 6'2", 6'3", 210-pound outside linebacker. He comes to us from Spartanburg High School, and his head coach was Freddie Brown, who I have a prior relationship with. Freddie Brown actually recruited me when I was at Wofford, was one of the first people to recruit me, so I've known him for a long time. And Justin was a guy who was giving me when I began the job back in July, and he was a guy that our defensive staff had evaluated and liked a lot on tape, but we just hadn't heard a whole lot of feedback on. I got a text message from Coach Brown back in early September asking me if we were still interested in Justin as a player, and I said absolutely. Justin came up that weekend, fell in love with the place. Funny story, and I'm going to try to paint this picture for you right here. Justin's a big, tall, long, physically mature kid, and he walks in, and we haven't met him before, and when I say strong, I mean he's country backwoods strong now, and he's got this deep, bellowing voice, sounds like James Earl Jones or the voice of Zeus or something. I mean, it's crazy, but he goes up, and Coach Lambert just poured himself a piping hot cup of coffee, and he goes up and gives him one of those firm country handshakes, and Coach Lambert sustains, I think, about a second-degree burn on his left hand from it. So I don't know whether Justin felt guilty about that or not, but we're certainly happy to have him. I think, moving on to him as a player, what you really see with Justin is his versatility. He actually started out his high school career as a safety. Bulked up a little bit, moved to inside linebacker his junior year, and had a phenomenal year there. Racked up over 155 tackles and 3 fumble recoveries. They had a rash of injuries his senior year, and they ended up moving Justin to defensive end. That's what you're seeing right here. This is senior tape. But he did an outstanding job there as well. Ended up having 63 tackles, 7 sacks, and 2 pass breakups as well. He also made the all-region team, was named the defensive MVP for his team. So that says a lot about his character and the type of person he is. We're going to start him as an outside linebacker and let him use his ability to rush the passer. But it's certainly comforting knowing that Justin's played a number of different positions and could probably fill several different roles on this team. Just a couple other notes about Justin. He actually just got done finished playing in an all-star game this week, the International Bowl, which was played on Tuesday. Team USA won 42-10, so we're happy about that. This is actually Justin's second time participating for Team USA, and it's just a collection of some of the best players in the country. versus the international team. And Justin just kept talking about how much pride he had playing for his country. And, you know, a lot of what you see reflected in Justin is in part due to his parents, Ike and Kim. I can't tell you how much fun I've had getting to know those two people, and they certainly know the definition of Southern hospitality. Remind you this, I've been doing this for a few years now. I've only been on a couple of home visits, and I go up there a couple of weeks ago and not knowing what to expect, but they welcomed me right in when I opened the door. Ike's got about 8 racks of ribs for me and ends up giving me this fresh haircut I got right now going on. So I'm certainly spoiled now from now on. So thanks a lot to Ike and Kim about that. But so happy to have Justin and every other member of this class, and he's going to add a lot to this program, both on and off the field. So thank you, and go Niners.
Thanks, Coach Richardson. I do want to, Johnson's mother and dad are here, John and Kathleen. They're here as well. I think we hit all the families. Everybody get their wives? Anybody forget anybody? I think we're good. I mentioned Ann, so we're in good shape there. But anyway, this class, really pleased with the balance. Like I said, the age balance, the position balance. And this class really isn't finished. We're still trying to, we'd like to add a few more players. Those obviously have to be old guys for us. And so as we go through this process, that's an ongoing thing for us. And the transfer thing is, as I've said all along, is really hard to do because you can't recruit those guys. You can't actively recruit somebody on somebody else's roster. So you have to hear about them. They have to call you, or a coach has to call you, and then you have to get a release and go through the process. So you find out about them at different times, and so we'd like to continue to add a little age to our team if we can before we start the season. But we're excited about getting this group here. Some of them are here now. They'll all be here July 1st this summer and get started. But our next step, we're in our off-season program right now, going through our weight program. Coach Durning and his staff have them, and then we go out on the field and work some. We'll start spring practice March 18th after we get back from spring break. We'll go through that process. We'll practice approximately 20 times, somewhere around there. We'll end up with our spring game on April 20th. We encourage everybody to come out, bring your friends. It's going to be a good day for us. Hopefully we got the video board up and we kind of run that thing like a regular game so we can get a feel for what it's going to be like on August 31st. And after that, we'll go through our spring recruiting period. We're already working on our 2014 class. And then we'll have our summer workouts, obviously starting July 1st. And then hit two-a-days. It's on us fast. You know, we kind of feel like UT San Antonio now. When we went out there 2 years ago, we laughed at them. They had like 50 days on their little time clock, and we were laughing at them because we were at 900 or 850. And they said, "Don't laugh, Coach. It'll be here quick." And they were right. So it's about here, and we're excited about it. We're excited about being on this clock and on this calendar now. So it feels normal to us, and you can see the staff's excited about this group and excited to get started with working these guys out. And with that being said, open up for questions. Anybody's got any questions for any of the coaches or myself? Shoot at us. Yes, sir.
You mentioned you had more roster openings. How many?
We'll probably we'd like to bring in about 3 more guys, 3 old guys, and add them in the right spots, you know, whether that's offensive line or running back or where have you. We're pretty much finished on defense. So you'll end up see where some guys end up on our roster now. You know, we'll probably move some guys around, you know, depending on needs and what takes place from here on out. But, yeah, we're probably looking at 3 more guys. Yes, sir. Yeah, we didn't take a quarterback. That's intentional. We like the guys we have on campus. We're excited about them. We'll see if something comes up with a transfer, you know, in the quarterback position, but really pleased with the 2 guys we got on campus. We're excited about them. You know, Lee McNeil and Matt Johnson, they had a good fall, and we're really excited about, you know, kind of where they are in this process, and so we feel comfortable at quarterback. Well, I don't, you know, sometimes that's hard to, you know, we feel like we stepped up the people we competed against this year, obviously, with going into Conference USA. our issue in the next 2 years is just being young, and that's why I've told Judy all along I thought our schedule was fair because we will be somewhat young no matter how many guys we bring in. I mean, we've got a lot of young guys on our team, and they've done an excellent job. But so it's a fair schedule, and, you know, to where you end up, you know, as far as saying, hey, we recruited better than this school or that school, who knows, you know, in the end. But we feel really good about the people we competed against. We feel like, you know, competing against Marshall and Southern Mississippi and Louisiana Tech and East Carolina and schools like that, you know, that's who we've got to compete against in recruiting, because ultimately that's who we're going to be competing against on the field. So we feel good about where we ended up with this class and competing against those schools. She was being nice to me. Yeah. I'm going to say about 35. It'll be somewhere in that range, ultimately. We've had about, 50 on campus since we started. We've got, 30-some guys on scholarship now. Our roster size is about 80. It fluctuates somewhat. We've had some guys leave, and we've added a few new guys. So, just kind of, it fluctuates somewhat. We can, by rule, take in 95 guys in the fall to start two-a-days in August. So that's the FCS rule. So we have to follow that rule once we start two-a-days. So we have to have our roster at 95, and then we'll take it to 102 when school starts. That's how many lockers we have. So that'll be our roster size. So that's kind of where it is. How about other questions? Yeah. Well, I think we started inside out last year. That was our whole philosophy. When you kind of sit down and you get to pick a football team, that's where you want to start, and that's what we did. But we tried to add pieces at every position because we knew we had to practice. We did the same thing this year. We needed to hit all positions. We took 2 running backs in this class because AB's the one guy we have, and so we took a couple of running backs. But it was critical, getting all of our positions because we needed to add depth in our offensive line and our defensive line as well. I think we end up in good shape. We had to get some skilled guys, and I think running back was a critical one for us. We added an ex-receiver. Michael really helps us at the slot position. He can play either spot. So he's a fast guy that's old, and we wanted to add, kind of get an old guy at each position, and some positions too. So we've got one in the O line. We'd like to get another one. We've got a couple in the defensive line. We've got a couple on the defensive side of the ball. We'd like to get another secondary player. So we've got a corner and a safety. So that was kind of our goal, is to really fill our whole team because we don't have a full team. So we just have to keep adding at each position. So. Yeah. Well, a lot of that will depend on how many guys are hurt. We're going to try to run it like a game. The clock may be running the whole time. Spring games are tough on coaches because you really want to get through them without getting somebody hurt. But I'd like to run it like a game and, go as far as even split the staff and watch, let the kids play and have some fun. And hopefully we have a really nice crowd out there. And so hopefully it'll run like a game. Some of that will depend on if we get somebody dinged up and we only have one guy at a position, that becomes tough. So, you may have to turn part of it into just a scrimmage. But we're going to try. Our goal is to run it as much like a game as we can. Well, that being said, anybody else? We're in good shape. Thanks for. Yep. Great question. Man, thought I was going to get out of here, huh? Where's Nick? I know he's in here somewhere. No, I don't know what the exact date. We haven't set a date. We've went through that process. But as I told the recruits, I couldn't show them or I would have had to shoot them. So we have got our uniform finished and met the deadlines on all those things. But we'll have an unveiling here down the road sometime this semester and let everybody see what we're going to wear next year. With that being said, thanks for coming out, and come see us on April 20th. And you're more than welcome to come anytime while we're practicing. Come out. Most weekends we'll probably be in the stadium on Saturdays around noon. We are going to play at noon, so we'll probably be out in the stadium at those times. So you're more than welcome to come anytime, and we need you to go out and recruit all the people you can to, be 49ers and get excited about what we're getting ready to start on August 31st. We can't wait for it to get here. So thanks for coming out. We appreciate it.